So, hi everyone, and thank you very much for watching or listening. Liam Hartery here today with another episode of Presenting Champions for the Simply Inspired podcast. And today I'm joined by a very, very special guest. I'm excited to have this man on the show. He's a professional bare knuckle pit fighter for Spartan Promotions. As many people will know, I mean, that's one of the most brutal forms of combat that you can do anywhere in the world, nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. So today's guest, the Celtic Viking, Chene Ferguson. I got to double check I'm saying that the right way. But anyway, he's coming on the show today. I think I fucked that up with the name, but he's coming on the show today. Really grateful to have this man on the show. As well as that, I got to thank him for being a long-term supporter of my interviews. Shares everything, promotes everything, got absolute heart of gold. This man's had a few fights in the pit so far, but he's got a massive fight coming up on June 24th. At the time of this interview, it's sort of the end of April for anyone who's watching it later. So at the time of this interview, he's coming up on a massive, massive fight there. And basically, this man, the best is yet to come. The future is very, very bright for him. As always in my interviews, it's not just fight talk, but today we're also going to be getting into a little bit about mental health, a little bit about what this man has overcome to get where he is, because what one person can do, another can do. So there's some hope for all of you watching this in here as well. So Champ, that's enough about me talking about you third person and all that, but I just like to give a quick intro and break down some a little bit about your life. Thank you for coming on the show, and I'm glad that we finally get to do this.
Oh no, thanks for having me. It's appreciated.
No
And
worries.
yeah, it's Shane, as I always say it, not
Yeah,
Cheyenne.
Shane, okay, I'm sorry, my man. I got to get used to that. And I know it's a pain in the ass for you because I saw, like I was saying before, I saw a post on your Facebook where you said you spend like half of your life explaining how to say your name. But what I got to say about it is it's really cool because I've not met a lot of people with that name. In fact, I don't know if I've met anyone with that spelling. So I actually think it's really cool, really unique. Is there a meaning behind your name, or is it just a different?
No, I think it was just my mum. It's a French girl's name, I think, if I look into it. So
Okay, here we
yeah.
are. Well, if I was speaking French, I would have got it right, but unfortunately, I must have slept through the French class in school or something. I don't know. But anyway, sorry about that, my man. But anyway, thank
That's
you for
fine.
coming on the show. Thank you so much. It's a real pleasure to have you. And like I was saying before, I wanted to interview you for a long time, but with this big fight coming up in June, the British title and everything, I just thought, you know what, now is the right time. So let's give that a quick mention first, even though we're starting with the present day. We'll go back and talk about your past in a minute, and we'll talk more about your future. But right now, obviously, you're preparing for that fight. So how are your preparations going at the minute?
Well, I'm probably 3 weeks into camp now, and obviously we've only got it's 2 months today, so I'll start picking it up from Monday. Training 7 days a week. Yeah, but I put hungry and more determined than I've ever been. I want to bring that belt on. So
Absolutely, yeah. And I know that you obviously I see on your Facebook and everything, you train a lot with Dom as well. Shout out King Dom. He's been on this show.
yeah,
Oh, you know.
I probably wouldn't be where I am now among the Spartans without Dom. He keeps me going, puts me through my paces and whatnot, and yeah, it's I've got much love and respect for Dom.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, so have I, I mean, he's been on the show before. Amazing story where he's come back from, attempting suicide and all that stuff and so many things. I got mad respect for him. So shout out King Dom if you're watching this, great fighter as well. Okay, so that's obviously the 24th. Now, as I mentioned, we'll talk about your future goals some more in a minute, but let's go back in time for a bit, like when you were growing up and when you were going through your process and everything, were you always interested in fighting, like when you were younger? Was it always a goal, or was it something that sort of came later in life to you?
Well, it kind of just came later in life, really. But I've always been around kind of violence and whatnot because I was pretty much bullied from a young age all the way up till I left high school. So, and with moving from because I'm from Scotland originally, and we moved from pillar to post. I was always the new lad, so was bullied everywhere I went really, till I got to a point where I'd had enough, and just turned my hand to boxing a little bit, whatnot. So.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's talk about that a little bit because, like I said to you before, I mean, a big part of why I do these interviews is to inspire people and give people hope and everything. And bullying, obviously, it's something that a lot of people go through. So, if you don't mind, we'll just touch on that a little bit and everything. In terms of that, you were moving around a lot by the sound of it. Was that, if you don't mind me asking, like a reason to do with your parents or a reason to do with like a family situation that you were
Well,
moving?
it was on just my mum moving as pillar to post. I don't know my dad, never met him or whatever. So, but yeah, my mum just can't settle anywhere. So obviously, us being her kids, we move with her, type thing.
Yeah. And what advice would you give to somebody, say there's somebody watching this and they're that sort of age and everything, and they are being bullied, they are being picked on and whatnot. Obviously, because you've come through it yourself, you've come out the other side now and you stand up for yourself and you're fighting and everything. What would you say to someone who's going through now what you went through?
Give them it back.
Yeah.
Usually bullies, once you give them, stand up to them, they'll 9 out of 10 times they don't tend to bother you again. That's how I would just give them a crack back.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing, isn't it? With bullies, it's like it's a good sort of 90% like the intimidation factor. But when you stand up to it, I mean, their sort of presence, if you like, is actually quite fragile, and you stand up and it just sort of folds away. Most times they don't even fight you. They're just like, oh no. So yeah, it's good advice. So okay, so you stood up to him, and let's talk about that time in your life, because obviously being bullied, it sounds like this went on for a good few years. Was it like big groups or was it more like a one-on-one thing? If
No, usually, like when I was younger, it used to be just the odd lad.
yeah,
And like it was when I was in primary school, it was an high school kid that was bullying me, and I used to have to catch bus with the high school kids and whatnot. And I just snapped one day, took my shoe off, and went up to the back of the bus and beat him with a shoe. So he didn't bully me again after that. There's one I showed him up in front of all his mates. So
yeah. Well, that's a big part of it as well, like the psychology, isn't it? It's like the humiliation factor, because obviously that's what they're trying to do to you, but then you put it back and yeah, that works. So you came through that, and then obviously after you had that time of like being on the receiving end, then you say, okay, I'm going to give this back, I'm going to stand up for myself. How did your life change? How did you feel at that time when you
it
started?
didn't really change because obviously then we moved down to England, and then it just started again. Obviously, coming down with a Scottish accent down into England, yeah. So and then I think before I settled at a high school, I'd already done 2 high schools, like in Manchester, then to Bolton. So yeah, I just carried on getting picked on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, what I gotta say with this is, and I say this to people when I have guests on the show, is it is a very brave thing to put your sort of to put yourself out there in this way, if you get what I mean. It's one of those things. I've got a lot of respect for that, even though I do these all the time. But I have people on here, and the things they're talking about with addiction and abuse and mistakes they've made being involved in crime or mental health I mean, there's so many different things. But to take some of your darkest areas and put them out into the light type of thing, mad respect for that. And I say the same to you because basically it takes balls in the nicest way. I mean, that's just, it does to put this out there. So thank you for being so open about this stuff. So then, okay, so you were growing up, you were going through these phases. You tried a little bit of boxing, and was that mainly like sort of boxing on the gym, a little bit of sparring, that type of thing by the sound
Yeah,
of it?
it's just with friends really, just meeting up, having the odd spar and whatnot when I
Yeah.
was younger. And then I joined the army when I was 18 and did a bit in the army, but never anything. It was more training, really.
Okay. Yes. How long were you in the army for then?
Just over 2 years.
Yeah.
But that went a bit sideways because I got I got into trouble with police, and I kind of went off rails, really.
Yeah. Well, you know something. I mean, it's something that a lot of people go through. It's something that a lot of particularly a lot of fighters go through as well. You know, I mean, most people they have that trauma and they have those sorts of things in their past. Now, again, you know, like I said to you at the beginning, we never dwell on anything negative here. You know, so I'm never gonna sort of put the spotlight on you and be, oh, this happened to you or you did this in an awkward way. It's always about like how you overcame it. It shows other people can overcome it as well. It's as simple as that. You know, so asking this question from that sort of context, you know, going off the rails a little bit touching on that, can you touch on a little bit about what happened, but more importantly, how you obviously sorted yourself out? Because you know that's the message that we want to give out to people here. You know.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't think I've sorted it. Spartan sorted me out. So big respect to Christian for taking me on at Spartan, because I was a bit wayward, a bit lost. Didn't feel like I had a purpose or whatnot. So, yeah, Spartan saved me, really, because it gave me something to focus on.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, well, I am going to take this opportunity to give a big shout out to Christian Roberts as well, if he's watching this, because that man has saved a lot of people's lives. And I always say to him, you know, he gives obviously Spartan and the rest of the team there as well. You know, they give people the opportunity. Obviously, you're the ones who have to walk through the door, but at the end of the day, he's giving people the opportunity to turn their lives around, which as well as the fighting, you know, I've had so many people on this show that it saved them from death and destruction, basically, you know. So it's very, very cool to hear that. So let's touch on that. I mean, how did you first hear about Spartan? When did you first become aware of it, type of thing?
Well, beforehand, I'd done a couple of white collars, and obviously when COVID had kicked in, some fights had got cancelled, and I just decided, well, you know what, I'll do bare knuckle, and I should have been on a show with another promotion, but obviously that got cancelled because of COVID, and then I think there's a lad from Chorley who'd done one, Chene Hodgkinson, and so I thought I'd get a message Christian, showed him videos of me like white collar and whatnot, and it gave me a chance.
Yeah, amazing. How many white collars did you have then? How many of those were a couple, was it?
No, I'd had one in one MMA and one in ring.
Yeah.
And I
Fair
just
play, you
thought,
know. Yeah.
why not? Let's just get into bare knuckle. It's
Jump
always
into
been
the ring.
something that's interested me, is bare knuckle.
Yeah.
I think it's a bit better than boxing with big pillows on your hands.
Just so you jump in the deep end, you know.
Yeah, why not?
For that. Yeah, jump in.
And I am pretty much learning as I go as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, well, that is, again, you know, big respect for that, because it's not like you've got this, you know, the big amateur background or anything, just jumping straight in the deep end and seeing how it goes. That takes a lot of heart, that does. So, you know, fair play, absolute fair play. So, with Spartan, then obviously people watching this, you know, some people will have seen your fight, they'll know about your journey, but I'm also banking on some people watching this, they will have heard of you, you know, for the first time through this. So let's walk through your fights with Spartan in your own words, basically. You know, I mean, the fights you've had so far, your favorite moments, the highs and lows. I know it's sort of a big question because I'm saying let's talk about the fights, but just I think it's best to put it over in your own words, how your journey's been going so far.
well, my first fight should have been Spartan 9 in Oldham, but the lad didn't turn up, so which was I was a bit gutted about that. And then I think my first fight for Spartan was in cage. which I won, so I was happy with that. But my first time in pit, which was Spartan 10, I was like a rabbit in headlights. It just wasn't expecting it to be as quick as it was. So that one I lost. I'd lost my, and then I did Fight Fest against John Best, which was a good fight. Again, lost that one. He broke my cheekbone, so that I'd felt it pop as well as he'd done it, and I think I stood up too quick, and my eyes went west, so that got stopped. And then it was Spartan 11 just before Christmas for a lad called John Menzies, and there was no way I was finishing ending the year on a loss. So just to be honest with you, I just changed the whole how I move in the pit. Whereas beforehand I'd stand off. Now I just keep coming forward, and that's whether I get hit or not. It quite like getting punched in the face, really. But
Yeah, well, again, my respect on that because learning on the job, that's a big thing. I mean, I don't know how you look at it yourself, but I got a lot of respect for it. Like I mentioned just now, jumping in the deep end, cracking fights you've had so far, brilliant. Talk to us a little bit about when you're in the pit, how fast it really is, because I have guys on the show with like every type of thing, MMA, boxing, kickboxing, all of it. It looks faster. I mean, it looks like lightning. I mean, it looks like I'm surprised, and you have to have the mental toughness as well. So how fast does it happen when you actually get in there?
oh, it's over, and well, you feel. I mean, the 2-minute rounds, if they go past the first round or whatnot, but it's over in a flash.
Yeah.
Whether you win or lose, it's like that.
Yeah.
It's just having to think while getting punched repeatedly is quite hard as well. So.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, it is. It's faster than anything, that you see. And obviously, watching the fights is one thing, but being in there, that's something else. Um, Amazing. So, out of those ones so far, which one would you say was like the toughest one so far? Would you say it's like with the cheekbone and all that? That sounds pretty tough. Or would you say they've all been tough in their own way?
I don't know. I'd say probably my last one against Lee was toughest because he was a game lad. Probably our toughest fight I've had. Obviously, big respect to all that I've fought. So Lee, John Menzies, we also fought as well.
With John Best, you said about as well.
John Best and
Yeah.
Ash. I can't remember his second name now either. Massive respect to him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but Lee, I would say, was my toughest. Obviously, he's still serving. He's still serving in army as well. So.
Yeah. Well, I say anybody who gets in the pit, big respect to all of them because, anyone who gets in, I mean, any type of combat, they're all tough in their own way. But like, yeah, with the pit, I mean, you have to take a punch to give a punch. You've got the speed, you've got different things that you just don't have. You've got the small space, obviously. You said about being a rabbit stuck in headlights as well. Now, I've heard this from a few lads, actually. You're not the first one to say that, where they get in there, their first fight, they're thinking, oh man, what do I expect? Next time they get in there, they're a bit more comfy. But talk to us a little bit about like what the atmosphere is like at a show as well, because one of the things I've seen a lot is the atmosphere at a Spartan show is pretty unique. It's not like anything else. So with the crowd there and with like the energy, I mean, it just seems electric, Can you describe that in your own words, please?
There's no words for it. The atmosphere is just unreal. Obviously, once you're in the pit and the ref goes, off you go, I can't hear anything. So while I'm in the pit, I don't hear anything. So whether I've got people shouting me or whatnot, never hear. But while watching it, I've never experienced anything like it. And all fans and fighters, it's just, yeah, it's unbelievable.
Amazing. And you mentioned as well about your training and everything. We touched on that earlier. One of the things that interests me with combat sports in general now is the mental side of it as well, because you've got to have like a mental strength to get in there, and know that you're going to get, you're going to get in with another guy who's going to try and take your head off. You're trying to do the same to him and everything. So on the build up to a fight, what is sort of going through your mind? Is it like excitement, nervousness, visualizing the fight, planning how it's going to go, or like what's your process for that? If you get
It's pure excitement. I get, like I said before we started this video, I'm more nervous about doing this than I am getting in the pit. I'd rather be getting punched in the face than doing this. It is just, yeah, excitement.
Yeah, pure adrenaline.
Especially now, because I've kind of found my feet in the pit, and I've improved from every time I've been in. Yeah, this one I'm excited about, more so because it's for a title. Because, I mean, when I first started, it was purely just, it was more of a way to get rid of some anger and whatnot. Whereas now, I'm not here to take part. I want to, be a big name in the Spartan ranks, if you will. So,
Absolutely. Well, like I was saying before, the future is very bright for you, and I'd like to talk to you more about the future in just a minute now, which we'll get to that. But before we do, again, touching on something here for the purposes of inspiring people, helping people, etc. I mean, something that you're open about on your Facebook is the mental health side of things. It is something that you talk about, how you have to manage. Now, we can talk about this as much or as little as you want. I never putting people under pressure in my interviews, but with regards to like your struggles with mental health, are you comfortable to talk about that a little bit and sort of how you manage that, like maybe through training or maybe through fighting, and how these things help you, if you get what I'm coming from with this?
yeah, no worries. But really, how I got over mine was purely Spartan. It's just giving me, I struggle a lot with social anxiety, and it's weird how the pit gives me, I get rid of it when I'm in the pit. So, yeah, and training helps a lot. That's about it, really. Just Spartan in general has just helped. And not only that, it's like a massive family. So whereas you're, anytime I was struggling, because I'm not far from someone who would be in my inbox, making sure I was all right or whatnot, or someone I could turn to and, vent, or
Yeah,
it's like a brotherhood.
absolutely.
Which is another thing why I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's true. It's absolutely true. I mean, I've seen this a lot, the respect and the sort of connections between people there. It's like a brotherhood, like a big family, and I've seen, obviously, even on social media, as you mentioned that, like somebody can post up, they're struggling, they're going through a hard time. There's a few lads, obviously, who do have their demons that they have to fight, and sometimes they'll put up a post about it, and the support that comes sort of pouring in and everything, it's amazing. And, you don't see that with a lot of promotions. A lot of promotions, even people on the same event, it's still every man for himself, whereas obviously with Spartan, there's a really good network. And it's one of the really cool things about that, and the respect as well. I mean, people trying to take each other's heads off and then they go off for a pint or something afterwards,
Yeah, it's just, stand and bang and then have a pint after. I don't think there's anything better.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, the future for you is a big thing. I mean, you've got this massive fight coming up, and you mentioned earlier as well that you know some of your goals, that you want to be a big name in the ranks and everything. So let's talk about your future. Not just obviously with this next fight in June, but sort of looking past that as well to like where you want to go in the longer term. Take it as far ahead as you want. I really don't mind. But some of your dreams and goals and what's driving you would be cool to talk about.
Well, the biggest goal I have with Spartan, as it's not been done, is a freeweight world champion. So obviously lightweight, obviously the little Mexican has the lightweight and middleweight belt. So if I can get myself up there where I get a chance with him, and then dropping down to featherweight. So it's never been done. So I'd like to be at least try it and be the first one.
Amazing. That's good. Well, I love that, you know, aiming for the dizzy heights and everything. And the thing about it, I mean, why not? Keep learning, keep improving, fight by fight, and you know, who knows what the future can hold. And I tell you what, I've said this to a few lads lately, but a few more fights down the line, we'll do this again. Now, to give a shout out to a couple of other people as well, before we, because sort of come to the tail end of this, now three-weight world champion, I love it, you know, go hard or go home, aim big.
That's it. Well, it's all in or not at all.
Yeah,
So
that's the best way. Giving a shout out to the people who've helped you. So what I mean by this can be anybody from obviously Christian and the Spartan team, other fighters, you know, obviously people who buy tickets to watch you fight, people people who support you on social media. I don't mind because support comes in different ways, but just people that you would personally like to thank. And because the reason I ask this is because obviously you know who they are and they know who you are and you're helping each other. But from the outside world, there's often a lot of people helping fighters and helping people in general, where they're sort of behind the scenes, you know, from everyone else's point of view, if you get what I mean, even though you know them in your community. So just anyone that you would like to take this opportunity to give a shout out to and give a mention to, really.
Yeah. Well, first one is Wayne Earthman, who he's coming to this one and he's been to me last two. He's always up. And he helps me out with his gym for like saunas and steam rooms and whatnot. Obviously, massive shout out to Dom. I don't think I'd be here fighting for a title if it wasn't for him and the help he's gives. And then obviously Christian for giving me a shot. And yeah, my partner as well, because she pushes me. It's if I you have a bad day, an hard day at work, and come back and I'm not going to the gym today, and so no, you're going for a run, or no, you're doing this. So people who just give me that extra push.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's really good to give them a mention, you know, give them a shout out and everything like that. And to the fans as well, everyone who buys tickets, you know, you're the ones who make fighters' dreams possible, you know, by coming and watching them. So give a shout out to them. I mean, you know, champ, the future of your life is bright. You know, there's some big fights out there. Keep learning, keep winning. And like I say, a few more fights down the line, we'll do this again. A couple of things I'd like to say to you as well. First of all, well done, because as far as I know, and correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, this is actually your first interview you've given.
It's my first one.
Yeah, so I say well done, because you know, you've done really well, and it is nerve-wracking, and I can't say it's not, you know. I used to feel nervous when I started doing them. I know what it's like, you know. But the thing is, you've done really well. You know, you've spoken from the heart, you've spoken about some quite personal stuff. And I hope this does two things. I hope it helps you personally get some more exposure, you know, get your name out there and all of that. I also hope it helps inspire a few people, just that, you know, not to give up, not to give in, and that anything is possible if you believe in it enough. And I mean, you know, you're a testament to that. You know, you've turned your life around, you overcoming your mental health. You're on this interview, even though you obviously mentioned about struggling with certain social things. That's a hell of a thing to do. You know, you're learning and growing every fight in the pit. So there's a lot of these things I think absolutely amazing. So the last thing for me to do is just to say a big thank you for coming on the show, and big thank you for sharing everything that you've shared today, really. You know.
Thank you for having me on, honestly. Much love.
Yeah, much love and thank you. And like I say, keep me posted on. I'll be following all the fights anyway, but keep me posted on how things are going. And like I say, a few more fights down the line, we'll do this again, and we'll update everybody. When you know you'll have at least one belt by then, hopefully. So you know we'll do that. I believe you will. But yeah, thank you again, and best wishes to you and your family. And I just hope you enjoy your weekend and all the rest of it. You know.
Thank you. You too.
And a massive shout out to Martin Hegarty, the guy. He's ace. Shares all my stuff almost before I've even shared it, which is a bit weird. But no, massive love to Martin as well.
Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.